send it over to Mohoc with VVVVVV.
Yo, what's up, guys? I'm Mohoc, and this is VVVVVV. And I'm relieved to have some community members with me on the couch, from left to right, Vio, Emmoji, and Oru. And thanks to all your donations and everything, I will be doing glitchless 100%. So thank you all for donating for this. This is going to be the first time we're going to see this category at GDQ. So I'm really looking forward to it. Let's start the countdown from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Okay, so welcome to VVVVVV, or V6 for short. This is a 10-year-old game tomorrow, actually. Tomorrow is the 10th anniversary of release, and we are still finding tons of crazy new stuff in it, new glitches, all sorts of fun new time saves. You're not going to see any of that today. This is glitchless 100%, and that means it's glitchless. Mohoc, explain what that means.
Yeah, so basically 100% means that we'll be getting the trinkets, just like this one. All right, finally got it. At least you get to show it several times, and there are 20 of them. That's basically the definition of 100%. And then glitchless, we're gonna play the game the intended way, not skip any levels, which means that I'll be playing Gravitron at some point, which is good for you and bad for me, I guess.
So this game is your standard kind of 2D platformer, except that instead of a jump, your character has the ability to flip the local gravity. They are pulled either up or down, and you can change that when you're on the ground. Additionally, in this category, we're going to see a lot of cool tricks that we wouldn't see in other categories, such as a death warp. These death warps are essentially to cut out backtracking from trinkets. Most of the trinkets are in out-of-the-way locations, and so if we're able to die nearby to a trinket, it will often skip a lot of the backtracking that you'd have to go through if you can just go immediately back to the next checkpoint after that short wait.
All right, so now we're done with the first level, tutorial level Space Station 1, and rescuing our first crew member, Violet. Depending on now, I would consider Space Station 1 to be one of the hardest levels in the run, because we have to get the trinkets, and it's pretty tricky.
So, now it's probably a good time to explain what the game is during this cutscene. Essentially, what Violet is explaining here is, during a crash, your ship has crashed into another dimension, and all of your crewmates have been randomly teleported around to safety, and your job is to go find them and rescue them and bring them back to the ship.
Yeah, and because this is 100%, we'll have to get the trinkets and not miss any of them, hopefully. All right, coming in lab, each level has its own gimmick. And in this one, it's those gravity lines you can see that makes my character automatically flip. So when you're doing these kind of levels for the first time, it's really confusing because it's really hard to guess what's gonna happen. But I know what I'm doing, basically. Don't worry about it. For the most part, this game doesn't have any RNG except in Gravitron. So it's pretty straightforward for now. All right. So in this level, because of the gravity lines, it's actually making my life a bit easier because I don't have to worry about my flips. As you can see here, I just have to hold right and it's working well. So that's why I would consider the lab to be one of the easiest stages in glitchless 80%. But because there are so many trinkets in lab, it makes the level a little bit harder. We need to get this trinket in the maze, and it's very easy to get stuck at some point. And coming out without dying, great. Coming up is another difficult trinket because there's not much any visual cue to help you out. So I'm doing it differently every time, but it went well. All right. Now going for some fast strats. All right, that's the first one. And that's the second one.
That was a frame-perfect input right there. 30 FPS game, but still very precise, and it saved an entire second.
All right. So we need to go there through this narrow spot because there's a hidden trinket. Like most people will miss it during their first playthrough because it's very well hidden. And using a death warp to get backtracking. And we're almost done with that. That was all right. All right. So we're saving Victoria right now. There's a good reason why I'm saving Victoria now and not later, because she has a trinket to give me. And if I save her later, the cutscene to get the trinket is gonna take longer. And when I say longer, it's like much longer, like 5 seconds or so. So let's do that right now. And with that, we're heading to our third stage, which is Space Station 2. The way to it is kind of long, so this is a good time for donations.
All right, that sounds good. We have a $100 donation from Mr. Bazak that says, "Man, I love speedruns. Let's see this Gravitron." And by the way, we are about $3,000 of the $10,000 towards that incentive, so make sure you get those donations in, guys.
Oh my God, guys, please do it. You wanna see that?
It's gonna be fantastic.
Like I've already done it at ESA last summer, and I got 2 minutes and 21 seconds. So we could beat that if we meet the incentive, hopefully. So go for it. So because you guys donated for 100%, we get to see the elephant. No one knows where it's there. Maybe Terry himself doesn't know. And fun fact, like if you stay too close, like if you stay close to the elephant for too long, then Veridan himself is gonna get sad. And I don't know why either, but yeah, that's pretty funny to me. All right, let's get back to business. With Space Station 2 and these conveyor belts. It's really hard to evaluate the movement there. Oh. I could have gotten a frame perfect trick here that would only have saved a second, but you know, let's just go for this. Another frame perfect trick coming up. Don't worry, there's not gonna be a lot of them.
Aww.
Okay. This right there is called the edge flip. So the game is giving you one more frame after you fall off a platform, and you can still flip. So it makes the game more lenient, but you can also use this mechanic to reach some of the platforms. That's what happened in this room. And it's like a very minor trick in glitchless 80%, but right there it would save like 15 seconds in glitchless 100%. So that's why I repeatedly went for it. As a whole, Space Station 2 is a really hard level. You have a lot of skips to go for, like the one in this room, and the one in the next few rooms, like this one. All right, got it. But also a lot of trinkets. And if you have played the game before, you know what's coming in. All right.
So we skipped the checkpoint at the bottom there. You'd think that we might get it because this is such a hard trinket, but generally...
That's the first try. Okay.
It's important to get
sure.
consistent enough at this trinket to get it in the first couple tries, and it still actually saves time to skip it if you get it second try, just because it saves the backtrack all the way up.
Looking good. Let's go!
Second try.
We sure is on. I'm sorry, guys. Like, this is my first GDQ run ever, so I have to get used to it. Thanks for the support.
You're doing great.
All right. Oddly enough, I found this trinket to be much harder, just because you have to go through 3 to 4 rooms without hitting checkpoints, so that we can free this platform and get access to the trinket. All right.
Very nice.
That was good. The my heart is always racing when I'm doing Space Station 2. Oh god, I'm glad it's over now. But we're not even halfway to being done. Saving our third crew member and heading to a mandatory level called Intermission 1. Now, if you don't know Intermission 1, it's a fairly difficult level just because you have to save not only yourself, but also the other crew member. So this is the next core mission. Whenever I'm on the floor, the crew member is following me. Whenever I'm on the ceiling, it's not following me. And all the puzzles in this level are around this mechanic. What I'm gonna do for the most part is only look at Virgin, the blue guy, because the little guy's movement is only determined by my own character's movement, so better only look at one thing, like focus on one thing at a time. All right. So I'm gonna go back here so that I can set up for the next room with a very difficult trick, not as I do. That was almost first try. I'm gonna go for it again. Like, this is much harder than the casual way, but I should have practiced for it. Give me a couple tries.
What's going on is on each platform, you have to stop very much near the end of the platform and then hit the opposite direction to turn yourself around.
This is so hard. Come on, game. Give me that.
There
Yes!
you go.
Oh, God. Of course, this is like the worst I've ever done this trick in like a month. But don't worry, guys. I should be okay with the estimate. Thank you. All right. Like, my personal goal is like to get Deathless Gravitron. Like, that's the main goal. So yeah, it's gonna be difficult, but I don't care about the rest if I can get it. But before that, we need to get a few more trinkets, and we need to head to Warp Zone. But before that, 2 more trinkets to get. They're pretty complex, just because you have a lot of spikes sections. That's the first one. This time we can't use the Death Warp because there's a mandatory checkpoint right there. But no problem. The second trinket is also going to be a bit tricky, just because you cannot just hold the direction. You're going to see what I mean in a second. All right. So how to go for the way back, because there's also a mandatory checkpoint on my way. There we go. Now that we're done with these 2 trinkets, we can safely go to Warp Zone. This is going to take long, so this is also a good time for donations.
All right, we've got plenty. We have $25 coming in from Andre that says, always excited to see what GDQ can do to band together as a community. I wanted to keep my name in the lead for the best fighting boy. I'll put this $25 towards the VVVVVVV incentive. Best of luck, Mohoc. And yeah, guys, keep getting those donations in. We do want to get that incentive met because it is incredible.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
We have another.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. We have $10 from Kami T that says, thanks for the very, 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 very good fun.
Thank you so much. All right, so at this trinket I got, it was written 16, which means that I didn't miss any of the trinkets so far, so we're good. We're good. Right now we're in Warp Zone, a very confusing level, as you can see. The gimmick here is that the sides of the screens are sometimes connected, so it makes it very hard for me to keep track of where my character is at all times. It's mostly down to muscle memory and automatisms. But I've done it hundreds of times, so I'm gonna go for probably most of the fast routes. Like this one, okay. And there's only one trinket in each gate, like right here now. And it's very hard. I'm gonna go for the fast route. Didn't quite get it. Second try. Yes.
Wow.
Let's go.
That's a very difficult trick, and the entire rest of the warp zone from this point on is some of the most difficult rooms in the game. Don't blink or you'll miss it.
All right.
Well done. Very, very good. Done.
Now I can breathe.
You got this.
Thank you. All right. So what's coming up is your favorite level, the Gravitron. Woo!
Yeah.
I have to help guys with my deathless and everything, but there's still RNG going on, so we'll see how it goes. This is not 100% sure. And yeah, that's basically like the benefit of just categories. Like, you would have to go through Gravitron, whatever happens.
Yeah, they serve an important place because many of the glitches in V6 specifically are used to skip certain levels, like Space Station 1, either intermission or both in some categories. So glitchless any percent, glitchless 100% both preserve those really interesting and challenging experiences that you skip over in some other categories.
Yeah, you may understand why people would want to skip Gravitron. All right, so the heavy RNG section is happening right now, between 40 and 20 seconds. Almost got it through it. That's fine. So it's gonna make the rest of Gravitron a bit harder for me, because if I got it deathless after 20 seconds, and the rest of the patterns is always the same. So this is, like I'm improvising right now. And I think you can tell that. Yes,
There we go.
okay, that was decent. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't get deathless.
You're all
Maybe next
right.
time. But if we could get in Super Gravitron, then we might get our revenge. All right? So now we're heading to the last level, which is Tower. And this is also a good time for donations.
All right, sounds good. We have a $50 donation from Dan67 that says Super Gravitron.
Hi! All right, now coming in Tower, the auto-scroll of the game. I don't know why you always have to have one in every 2D platformer. You know, speedruns on auto-scrollers, pretty boring. But because you guys donated for 100%, it's gonna make this level a little bit more interesting. Because I need to get the trinkets, and they are not easy at all to get. Especially the second one. There's a lot of spikes around me, and if I'm not careful, I could easily get hit by one of them, and that would be a huge time loss. All right,
Nice.
got it. All right, so now what we'll be doing is die intentionally on these checkpoints so that it speeds up the auto-scroller. It saves like half a second every time I do it. So it's not much overall, like 2 seconds, but it's still something, and it makes this auto-scroller a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. So the end of Tower is pretty boring, so we could go for 1 or 2 more donations.
All right, that sounds good. We have a $10 donation from Malchior that says, this run is very impressive. Keep it up, Mohoc.
Thank you.
We have a $25 donation coming in from Low Polycount that says, thanks, Mohoc, for running VVVVVV. Not even gravity can stop you now.
Thank you, dude. All right, we didn't die stupidly at the end of Tower. So we're good. Imagine dying in an auto-scroller. What a shame it would be.
Imagine it being faster to die in an auto-scroller.
All right, so now we have rescued all the crew members, so the game should be over, right? Right? Actually not. Still have to rescue the main character in this final level. And as a final level, you're gonna have all the mechanics you've seen before, like these gravity lines from lab and the connected sites from Warp Zone. You have a lot of fast routes to go for. I'll try to go for most of them. Next one could be a bit tricky to set up. We got it. Okay. Same thing in Vertigo. Flip from the ceiling so that you can go through the room much faster. That was first try as well. Now approaching the second part of the level with the terminal.
Okay, so talking to that terminal activates the second part of the level. It basically is a dimensional stabilizer that we turn off, and I don't remember the reason, but there is one. In any case, now the dimension's unstable and we have to escape it. So we just have to go through, the screen wrap is turned off, and get to the end as quickly as possible.
I'm glad I got this checkpoint. All right, in this room, I'm gonna go to the left and position myself so that I wouldn't have to go right and directly land on this block. And in this next room, I'm gonna wait at the checkpoint until I see a spike at the ceiling. And then I shouldn't be dying from the spikes. Oh my god!
Oh.
Okay, time to go for a backup strap.
Nice.
Talking while playing is not a good thing to do. Fortunately, it's over. 20 out of 20, this is a valid run.
Time is coming up very soon. It's going to be as soon as you see game complete at the top of the screen.
Time, okay. 2020, oh my god! What an in-game time. All right. If you ask me, like, this run looked like a complete train wreck, especially
It's
in some
all
of the
right.
fast runs.
You were pretty
But
close.
the meme final in-game time makes it for it.
I'd like to give a shout out to the community that made everything possible. If you're interested in learning the game, we have a Discord. The glitchless categories are very beginner friendly too, so check it out.
Yep. And it's not completely over because I get something for the end. And this is a surprise announcement. Because as you can see, the end image is quite different. And this is because this is the 10th anniversary of the game. And on this occasion, Terry Kavanagh prepared something special for you, which is the release of the source code of the latest game release. So from today or tomorrow, you can go to this URL and mess around with the code. It will be accessible. We may finally understand why this game is so weird. So shout outs to Terry Kavanagh and Ethan Lee for the idea. And yeah, now is the time to know if the incentive has been met.
Unfortunately, we have not quite met the incentive for Super Gravitron. We made it $4,200 of the way out of 5,000, that looks like.
All
Still
right.
an awesome 10,000. Sorry,
It's
10,000.
fine. I appreciate the support, guys. As a final shout out, I would say shout out to Dan, who has been a super active moderator on everything. He couldn't come here, but all our thoughts are for him. So yeah, thanks for your awesome job. And yeah, please run this game and see you another time, maybe. Bye. Have a good time with the end of the indie block. Stay hard for Celeste. Hype!
And that was an incredible run of VVVVVV by Mohoc. Can we get one more round of applause for that run? All right, I'm going to be throwing you guys over to a Twitch ad, but we will see you when we come back. Welcome back, Games Done Quick. Before we get into some more donations, I am going to send you over to a quick word from one of our sponsors.
How many years have I waited for the one they called the Warrior of Light? If history must be unwritten, let it be unwritten. Become what you must. Become the Warrior of Darkness.
All right, and with that, it looks like we are ready for an interview over the Pac-Man block with SpikeVegeta.
What's up? What is up, guys? Welcome back to AGDQ2020. We're sitting here in the earlier part of the day, but we're on Friday. It's the weekend. We're having a good time. I almost sang a terrible song. But I am joined by two awesome runners for the Pac-Man block coming up here. We got Joester98 and teapartycthulu. How you doing, gentlemen?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Spike?
Doing great. Oh, thank you. That was very, very gentlemanly of you. Thank you.
Yeah, doing great. Been a great GDQ so far.
Yeah, I was about to say, we're kind of later in the week. Y'all enjoying yourselves?
Absolutely.
Oh, it's been a great time.
So yeah, we're gonna have a Pac-Man block, really kind of classic style Pac-Man games. We're gonna be playing Pac-Man Arrangement and Pac-Man Championship Edition DX. A little mouthful for me. But before we get into the Pac-Man runs, I gotta ask you, teapartycthulu, no offense, Joester, teapartycthulu is one of the greatest Twitch names I have ever heard in my life. Where did that come from?
Okay, so I saw this one artist's DeviantArt series where she drew Cthulhu and all these like bunch of fun scenarios, like, oh, going to the theme park, having a fun time. And I was like, you know, it'd be really funny if Cthulhu had a tea party. I'm like, that'd be a great Twitch name, you know?
And it is.
And the rest is history.
It's one of those things that just strings together and you go, oh, I will be famous. GDQ will want me one day. Joester, is your name Joe?
Yes, it is. A very, very creative name. But,
Does the year 98 mean anything to you?
it's actually not the year, which throws people off.
Oh, all right. Here's the story.
So when I was in second grade, we had the teacher brought in a jar of candy and said, guess the amount of pieces in the jar. Closest person gets the jar of candy. And I guessed 98, and that was exactly correct. And I was the only person who guessed 98, and so I got the entire jar of candy.
Oh my God!
The moment that changed your life.
And that's been my lucky number ever since. So.
I did not expect to have a great origin story from Joester98. I was like, maybe he's just young. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We had two good origin stories. So let's actually talk a little bit about speedruns. Let's talk about video games here again. Both of you guys running the Pac-Man series. Every year, every 6 months, me and a couple of friends get together. We like to do prediction shows for GDQs. What games are they going to take? And I remember us initially a couple of years ago bringing up the Pac-Man series and thinking like, oh, is this really going to be a good IP for speedruns? They're some of my most fun to watch runs of any of the stuff that I didn't know too much about. What is it that drew both of you to running the Pac-Man series?
I can go first. So I played Pac-Man World a lot growing up as a kid, and I've run that a couple times at GDQ. So I really like that game, as well as the sequel, World 2. And I remember playing the game I'm going to run, Pac-Man Arrangement, in the car, like I'm on the way to my grandparents and whatnot. So playing those games growing up, and then just kind of was a fairly natural transition into speedrunning them later on.
For you, teapartycthulu, I had to say the whole name.
I'm going to keep it short and simple. Fast, flashy, made for speedruns.
It really is. Like anyone who's like sleeping on Pac-Man, make sure you stick around for this block. And we're setting up for it right after this Celeste run we got coming up right here. So let's also just talk about, Pac-Man obviously an IP that's been around for a long time. Did either of you get really into running the classic Pac-Man, or at least just not necessarily speedrunning it, but playing it itself, and it kind of developed into this as well? Or is this something you really haven't touched?
I've played the original Pac-Man a little bit. I personally think that Miss Pac-Man on the arcade is just a much better game because it's the same game. Thank you, support from the crowd. It's essentially the same game, but they just improved pretty much every aspect of it. So I played a decent amount of that on some cabinets growing up.
And for me, it's you know, you go to the CC's Pizza when you're a kid and they have the Ms. Pac-Man machine. Those are basically the only times I've ever played the classic Pac-Man.
Dude, you had an awesome CC's. We only had Jurassic Park. I want to go to some social media questions right here from @SuperHelmBros. You guys told me about this. Which ghost tastes the best?
Funny enough, in Pac-Man arrangement, it has it has 5 ghosts, the same classics: Blinky, Inky, Pinky, and Clyde. But there's a 5th ghost in a Pac-Man arrangement whose name is Kinky, and I feel like that one has to taste the best.
Ooh. It's getting a little steamy up in here. Put the kids away for this run. Okay.
And in CEDX, I'm pretty sure none of the ghosts have actual canon names in that game.
Oh,
anywhere.
no.
So all of them.
All right, so that run is kid-friendly. We'll be no kinky in that one. From Alwarion, what part of the run is the most difficult? And even if it's not necessarily the hardest segment, maybe just the hardest aspect of getting good at Pac-Man.
So in arrangement, there are a bunch of stages that have like boost pads that will speed you up, and you have to use those and take a bunch of really tight corners. You know, some boosts you may have to take, you know, 4 really quick corners in a row, and if you miss one, you'll bonk and just stop and lose all your speed. So there's, out of the 22 stages in the game, I think 6 of them have boosts, and they have anywhere from like 6 to 8 boosts that you need to do.
Right.
So those stages are generally the more difficult ones, but when they go right, they look really, really cool.
That's all we're here for. Cthulhu for you.
So in CEDX, the name of the game is AI manipulation, which sadly in that game requires you to play absolutely perfectly all the time. So the hard part is when you don't play perfectly and you have to react to everything and you still have to manipulate the AI on the fly, but it's like not a set pattern.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. I didn't know how much of it, the ghost patterns and everything was random, how stuff popped up. If it's kind of these are games that you go into having more of like a game plan as opposed to like a script that you're on. But it sounds like you have a script that you have to be ready to go to a game plan on.
Yep.
So, I want to talk about Kohlrabi's. I probably said your name wrong. Their social media question here. Pac-Man is known for having one of the smartest AIs for such an old game. With the ghost patterns, does this make running Pac-Man easier or harder because it is a lot to keep track of?
So in general, in like arrangement, the ghost AI usually isn't a problem unless you screw up, because they're just pretty much never in your way. I believe they do behave in a similar fashion to how they behave in the original, but the likelihood that you'll get hit by a ghost and die when you're just doing like the correct route through a level is essentially 0.
You're going so fast, you don't even have to worry about that.
Yeah.
It's really about your movement.
Yeah, so you're normally most levels are routed so that you have a power pellet active pretty much the entire time, and then by the time it all runs out and the ghost can kill you, the level's over. So.
And same here, where in CEDX, the game really plays to your favor and the ghosts really play to your favor to where it's mostly not a problem in that game. And for what could be a problem, we usually just manipulate it out.
We got one final question here from Alex XF Dest. Alex Dest, I believe. So, Pack Attack?
Pack Attack.
Pack Attack.
I believe we might be plugging a certain emote right here.
Yes, this is a very popular Franker Face Z emote. Shout outs to Wally Aldo, who's a very cool guy.
Yo, Wally's awesome.
For making that emote. So if you have room in your chat, add that emote. Even if you don't have room in your chat, just take out one of your emotes because this is better than what the emotes you have.
You're dropping something.
Facts.
Yeah.
Well, guys, again, we're setting up here for Celeste coming up. After this, it will be the Pac-Man block again. Pac-Man Championship Edition DX with teapartycthulu, and then Pac-Man Arrangement by Joester98. Should be a fun block. Make sure you guys check it out 1 hour, and it'll be a fun one this marathon. Got a bunch of other cool stuff coming up later tonight, but for now, we're going to kick it back up to the front as we're going to be kicking off with Celeste.
Thank you, Spike. Thank you, Joester, and thank you, Tea Party. Looking forward to that Pac-Man block. You might say I'm waka ready for it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, coming at you live from beautiful Orlando, Florida, this is Awesome Games Done Quick 2020, powered by Twitch and raising money in support of Doctors Without Borders. I am your host, Iggy Zeke, and I've got a fantastic run coming up for you next. It is going to be a run by Flair Bear, who you saw take the win during the Hat in Time race that opened up this very event. He's going to be going through the Celeste Chapter Farewell. It's an epilogue chapter released back in September. It is a massive level filled non-stop, start to finish with a massive challenge. But I think he's going to be ready for it. Let's find out soon. Actually, guys, you can find out right now because we are ready to rock with Celeste Chapter Farewell. So let's climb that mountain one more time. Give some height to Flare Bear. Good luck.